Thank you, Mr Speaker. And today in Queensland is State Government Budget Day. And I just thought it would be interesting just to do a little compare and contrast as to what the state government has done for the good people of Queensland as opposed to what the federal government are doing. So let's just have a quick look at what the federal government's doing for the good people of Queensland, particularly in my patch, from an infrastructure perspective. So state-wise, $110 billion is our infrastructure program. $3.5 billion of that has been committed by the federal government on road and rail projects which are going to benefit the people of the Sunshine Coast. $808 million for the Bruce Highway, Caloundra Road to Sunshine Motorway, funded 80% by the federal government. If you listen to Mark Bailey, the Queensland Roads Minister, you would think that Queensland's funding it 100%. They're only funding it to the tune of 20%. $800 million for the Bruce Highway, Cooroy to Curra Section D. $530 million for the Bruce Highway, Caboolture-Bribie Island Road to Steve Irwin Way. $130 million for the Deception Bay Interchange. All of these works are funded 80% by the federal government, 20% by the state. $12 million for a new 4-lane bridge at Mays Canal in Mooloolaba. Admittedly, that's not a Queensland government project, that's a local government project, but once again, federal government coming to the assistance of both the state and the local government time and time again. Now, at a state perspective, $390 million for the duplication of the North Coast Rail. It's a $780 million project. Now, wonder why they call it Queensland Rail. Is it because the Commonwealth owns it? No, it's because the Queensland government own it. And yet, when we stumped up and offered to pay $390 million, what did our fearless Premier say? That's not enough money. She wanted us to pay more than 50% on something that's wholly owned by the state government. $14.4 million in safety upgrades on the Steve Irwin Way. That was 80% funded by the federal government. Now, the Steve Irwin Way is a state government road, and yet we had to pay 80%. Why do you reckon that was? It was because the state government is so inept, so incompetent, and just refuses to spend money on good Queenslanders, on their projects that inevitably the federal government has to come to their rescue. Same again, $5 million for a network planning study in Caloundra, 100% funded by the federal government on a 100% state road network. This federal budget that we just had in May, $160 million for the Mooloola River Interchange on phases 1 and 2. Mooloola River Interchange is a state road, and yet we're funding it to the tune of $160 million. $7 million for the Nicklin Way 3rd Avenue connection in Caloundra. Now, that's a local government and a state road project. Once again, we're coming to the rescue of both the council and the state government, and yet very rarely will you hear either the state government or, in fact, my mayor in the local government of the Sunshine Coast Council give any appreciation for the funding that we continue to provide the local government. That's really a great shame, Mark Jamieson, because when we fund projects like your Mays Canal Bridge, when we fund projects like the 3rd Avenue, you'd expect a little bit of appreciation. But because we are having to fund all of these state projects, from time to time we can't fund everything that we want, like the $20 million that you've been hitting me up for the stadium. But if we didn't have to keep propping up this state government, maybe we could fund $20 million for the stadium. But for as long as we have to keep putting our hand in our pockets and propping up this hopeless Labor state government in Queensland, we are going to have to make certain priorities. Now, Cameron Dick has handed down a budget today with not one extra cent for additional road projects that haven't already been announced. Not one extra cent. So the people of the Sunshine Coast continue to get ripped off by this Queensland government.